quietly means the scores are close. Quietly means the losses feel explainable, a tough pitching matchup, a bad bounce, a night where the hits just didn't fall. Quietly means the people inside the organization can tell themselves the story of a team that is fine, that is close, that just needs one good series to turn everything around. The Los Angeles Dodgers have been losing quietly. And Dave Roberts, a manager who has seen enough baseball to know the difference between a rough patch and a structural problem, apparently decided he had seen enough. What happened in the hours immediately following the most recent Dodgers loss was not a minor roster adjustment. It was not the kind of quiet, procedurally routine move that front offices make every week across all 30 organizations to manage service time and roster flexibility. What happened was a statement. A decision delivered with the kind of speed and directness that tells everyone paying attention, players, coaches, analysts, the rest of the NL West, that something has fundamentally changed in how this organization is thinking about its current situation. 3 key players placed on the trade roster. The batting lineup reorganized in emergency fashion. The entire batting order changed. And new reinforcements announced, with Shohei Ohtani at the center of everything, as he always is when the Dodgers are trying to figure out what version of themselves they need to be. This is not a story about roster mechanics. This is a story about a franchise at a crossroads, and a manager who chose urgency over patience. Every decision of this magnitude has a triggering moment. A point at which the accumulated weight of smaller frustrations finally becomes too heavy to carry with the same explanations that worked the week before. For the Dodgers, that moment arrived on Monday night at Petco Park. San Diego 1, Los Angeles 0. A game where the Dodgers generated enough traffic on the bases to win comfortably, and converted almost none of it. A game where Shohei Ohtani did precisely what Shohei Ohtani does, creating opportunities with his presence, his instincts, his sheer refusal to be a passive participant in any game he is part of, and watched those opportunities dissolve in real time around him. A 1-0 loss in May does not normally trigger the kind of response that followed. One loss, in the context of a 162-game season, is data. It is 1 point on a line that needs many more points before it tells you anything definitive. But this was not just one loss. This was one loss that represented the clearest possible expression of a pattern that had been building for weeks. The Dodgers at 29-19 are a winning team. They are in the race. They are 1 game behind the San Diego Padres in the NL West and theoretically within range of taking the division lead at any moment. But winning teams can contain losing tendencies. Positive records can mask negative trajectories. And Dave Roberts, sitting in that visiting dugout in San Diego after the final out was recorded, was looking at both the record and the trajectory, and making a calculation about which one told the more important truth. The calculation, apparently, was not a close call. The phrase that circulated through the media in the hours that followed was blunt in a way that organizational communications rarely are. Baseball front offices speak carefully. They use language designed to soften the reality of transactions. Players are reassigned, they are optioned for additional development, they are being given opportunities to contribute in a different context. The vocabulary of professional baseball is built to protect relationships and manage feelings. What reportedly came out of the Dodgers' internal conversations after Monday's loss was something different in tone entirely. The message, as it filtered outward, carried the directness of a decision that had already been made and was not looking for debate. 3 key players placed on the trade roster. Not optioned to AAA. Not sent down for rest or rehabilitation or a mechanical adjustment with the pitching coaches. Placed on the trade roster, which is the organizational equivalent of opening a door and pointing toward it. It means the Dodgers are actively looking for takers. It means the calculation about these players' value to this team has been completed, and the answer came back negative. This is significant not just for the players involved but for what it communicates about the direction Roberts and the front office are choosing. Trade roster designations in May send a message to every other player in the clubhouse. They are a reminder that no position in a championship-caliber organization is held by virtue of past performance alone. What you did last year, what you did last month, what you did last week, all of it becomes irrelevant the moment the organization concludes that what you are doing right now is not enough. That message lands differently depending on who you are in the locker room. For players who have been delivering, it is validation. For players who have been struggling, it is a warning delivered without words, through the simple act of watching teammates clear out their lockers and begin the uncomfortable process of waiting to find out where they will be sent. When a batting lineup gets reorganized in emergency fashion, when the entire batting order is changed rather than adjusted, it is an acknowledgement that the problem is not isolated. A single lineup change targets a specific issue. A complete overhaul suggests the structure itself was wrong. The Dodgers, in rebuilding their batting order around this moment, are essentially answering a question that has been sitting underneath their season without anyone wanting to address it directly. Who is this team when everyone is performing at the level they are capable of, and who is this team when they are not? The answer, until now, has been Shohei Ohtani and a supporting cast that has been inconsistent in ways the scoreboard sometimes hides. Ohtani has been exceptional, not just statistically, which is always true, but contextually. He has been the player who generates energy in a lineup that sometimes operates without enough of it. The player whose at-bat every pitcher in the opposing dugout prepares for with more care than any other. The player who, when he reaches base, changes the entire arithmetic of what the inning can become. But a lineup built around one player, even the best player in the sport, has a structural vulnerability. If the players around that one player are not converting opportunities, the lineup underperforms its potential in ways that compound over time. The Dodgers have been experiencing exactly that compounding. And the emergency reorganization is Roberts' acknowledgement that waiting for the current structure to fix itself is no longer an acceptable strategy. The new order places offensive contributors where they can do the most damage to opposing pitchers' planning. It acknowledges the reality that some players have earned their spots through recent production and others have not. It is the kind of lineup that tells a story about who the manager trusts right now, in this moment, in this specific situation, which is ultimately the only question that matters in the middle of a pennant race. And at the center of it all, as the announcement of new reinforcements made clear, is Ohtani. When new reinforcements are announced and Shohei Ohtani is listed among them, it requires a moment of careful interpretation. Because Ohtani has been here all along. He did not go anywhere. He has been in the lineup, producing at a level that most organizations would consider the solution to almost any offensive problem. His inclusion in the reinforcement announcement is not about his bat. It is about his role. About the possibility, the genuine, credible, now actively discussed possibility, that the Dodgers are preparing to expand what Ohtani does on a baseball field. That the two-way player who arrived in Los Angeles with the understanding that his pitching would be managed carefully through his recovery process is approaching a point where that management looks different than it did before. This is the development that changes everything. Not just for the Dodgers, but for the entire National League West race. Because a Shohei Ohtani who is contributing both at the plate and on the mound is not an upgrade over the current version of the Dodgers. He is a transformation of what this team is capable of being. Consider what the rotation has been missing. The starting pitching, as commentators have noted with increasing urgency in recent weeks, has been the team's most visible vulnerability. The offense can carry a team through certain kinds of losses. It cannot carry a team through the kind of structural pitching deficiency that costs runs every time through the order. The bullpen, absorbing innings that starters are not completing, wears down in ways that accumulate quietly and then announce themselves suddenly at the worst possible moments. Ohtani returning to any meaningful pitching role, even a limited one, even a carefully managed one, would address that vulnerability in a way that no trade acquisition or minor league call-up can fully replicate. It would give the rotation a presence that opposing lineups have no current frame of reference for, because there is no current frame of reference for Ohtani as a pitcher. The last time he was truly himself on a mound, he was among the most difficult at-bats in the American League. What that looks like now, after the recovery, after the added time and preparation and physical development, that is the question that is making opposing front offices genuinely uneasy. Strip away the roster transactions and the lineup changes and the reinforcement announcements, and what Dave Roberts is communicating through all of it is something very simple. We are not going to wait. This is a departure from the patience that has sometimes characterized how the Dodgers manage their long seasons. They are an organization accustomed to absorbing difficult stretches with the confidence that comes from knowing their talent level is high enough to self-correct. They have done it before. They have looked up in late May or June at a standing situation that appeared worrying and then quietly, systematically, dismantled the gap between where they were and where they needed to be. But the NL West in 2026 is not offering the kind of margin that makes patience viable. The Padres at 29-18 are not a team that is going to hand back their division lead through carelessness or collapse. They are too well constructed, too pitching-rich, too coherent in their organizational identity to simply lose their way in the weeks ahead. Every game the Dodgers drop, the Padres are likely to win. Every series where Los Angeles underperforms, San Diego is ready to press its advantage. Roberts knows this. The front office knows this. And the moves made in the immediate aftermath of Monday's loss are the organizational equivalent of looking at that reality and deciding that the version of the Dodgers that has existed for the past several weeks is not good enough to close the gap, and that waiting for it to become good enough on its own is a luxury this particular moment in the season does not offer. 3 players moved. The lineup rebuilt. Ohtani centered in a reinforcement plan that could mean more than the announcement itself reveals. The Dodgers are telling the rest of the NL West something. They are telling them that what you have seen so far is not the final version of this team. There is a point in every baseball season where a team's true identity becomes visible, where the decisions made under pressure reveal what the organization actually believes about itself and what it is willing to do to win. The Dodgers have reached that point in May, which is earlier than anyone expected. But perhaps that is the right time. Perhaps the willingness to make hard decisions before the calendar forces them is exactly what separates organizations that talk about championships from organizations that actually pursue them with the kind of relentless commitment that championships require. Shohei Ohtani will show up to Petco Park on Tuesday night the same way he always shows up, prepared, focused, having done everything that preparation requires and ready to do everything that the game demands. He does not need a lineup reorganization or a roster.